What do the arts have to do with learning in SEL? Oh, so much. Join me as we explore the depths of how these things come together through SEL, social, emotional, artistic learning. We'll look at the mindset, the methods, and the integrations that make SEL so effective. So plug yourself in. It's time to get inspired. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about social emotional learning and what that actually is. You know, in the near future, as you continue to listen and read and hopefully absorb some of the resources that I put out there, you're going to hear so much about SEL, social and emotional artistic learning. But before we really get into that method of bringing SEL into your classroom, it's important that you understand what social emotional learning is. And I don't want you to just confine yourself to one definition of it. I want you to really think about how does this play into your teaching and into your classroom for your students. That's really, really important. Now, it's very possible that you know about castle.org. They are the ones that really brought social emotional learning to the forefront. They have many resources and definitions for what these competencies are. And you'll often hear me and other people talking about these competencies. And yes, we are going to talk about those right now. But I also want you to think about not just limiting yourself to what they say social emotional learning is, because at the end of the day, what us bringing in these skills to our students is all about getting the students into our classroom, transitioning them into our classroom so that they're learning, and helping them to love learning, and helping them to be emotionally ready to learn. That is the end goal. The end goal is to get our students learning the content that we're presenting to them. So that is where I want our focus to be when it comes to the term SEL and social emotional learning. All right. Now, I did say that I was going to be kind of going over some of the competencies and understandings of SEL. And for that, I have my trusty SEL word list here that I'm going to be pulling from as I continue on. But I also want to just start with a little brief little history. Now, this isn't any kind of official history of SEL. This is my experience of where SEL has truly come from. Because I believe that teachers, we have been doing this for centuries. Whether we're talking about those little books of manners that we would see in a one-room schoolhouse where students would learn how to write by writing, verses from the Bible, the Golden Rule. All that was where it kind of began in terms of education. And it evolved over the years. Maybe it had a few different names. When I was in college, I took character education classes, which I absolutely loved. I thought it was amazing that not only could I teach the content in my class, but I could also teach my students how to be good people, right? How to be respectful, how to be responsible. I just absolutely loved the idea of that. Then, I remember hearing them quote unquote, talk about the soft skills, or emotional intelligences. All of these things really are what has led us to this term of social and emotional learning. And so now it's our turn to think about what these terms are, think about what these qualities are, and how they really start to play a role in our classroom. So like I said, I'm gonna go to my SEL word list that I have. This is part of, this is a page right out of the SEL teacher training workbook that my teachers who go through the SEL courses get, and we utilize this to help us create SEL lessons. Yeah, they get a lot of lessons inside the course and so many activities and strategies, but there's also this component in SEL where teachers are able to create their own lessons. And if you think about that, it makes complete sense, right? Because teachers know their students the best, right? And so they know what they need, and they also know the content that the students are learning in their classes. And so being able to infuse social, emotional words and terms and skills into what they're already teaching, that is a huge piece of what SEL is and what makes the methods of SEL different than any other SEL program out there. All right, so let's take a look. So there are 5 overarching competencies when we talk about social and emotional learning. They are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. Now, I just want to highlight some of the really important words that kind of come up with each of these competencies, just to kind of get you thinking about how this plays in your classroom and what you see in your students. All right, so let's start with the self competencies. So I like to group self-awareness and self-management together as the self-competencies. And with self-awareness, we are going to start really focusing in on students identifying their own emotions. This is huge. This is so important, because if students don't understand how it is that they're feeling, then they can't express that to you as a teacher. They can't talk through challenges that they might be having. And so giving them some skills to actually identify how they're feeling when they are stuck on a math problem or can't work well with another person in the classroom, those are things that you can help them to address. That's what's going to give them that confidence in themselves, help them to see things a little bit more optimistically. Self-awareness also has to do with that quote-unquote growth mindset that's really important, so that students aren't stuck, but they're able to take risks and make mistakes and learn from what it is that they're doing in the classroom. Self-management, well, my goodness, I feel like we have for decades or centuries talked about classroom management, right? Classroom management, having students kind of manage themselves is really what I meant. And have like that impulse control, right? We're constantly trying to help our students with their impulse control. And there are some amazing SEL strategies for that, by the way. And helping them also to be motivated. That truly is one of our roles as a teacher, is to keep students moving forward, keep them motivated, and have them understand their role in that motivation for themselves. So that is just a couple of highlights that I like to focus on with the self-competencies. Now let's take a look at the social competencies. These competencies have to do with social awareness and relationship skills. All right, let me look at my word list here. Okay, here's a word that is often thrown out there in conversations among educators all the time, and that is empathy. We want our students to be empathetic. And what that has to do with is allowing your students to practice perspective taking. And there's so many ways we can do this in the curriculum that we're already teaching. And yes, we have some amazing arts integrated ways. For example, I'm going to tell you overall, drama is perspective taking and putting yourself into another person's shoes, right? But whenever students are doing character studies, that's where they can start to practice perspective taking and putting themselves in the character's shoes. And that's what's going to help them to develop empathy, among so many other ideas as well. Having respect for others. There's that word that I loved when I was in college. I think I even wrote an entire unit of study just on the concept of respect, because I felt like that was such an important thing for students to understand. What does it mean to respect yourself and respect others and respect things and materials around you? What I also love about these social competencies is that it touches on the resources that we have, that our students have. Family resources and support, community resources and support, and other ways that they can seek out help when they need it and encouragement when they need it. Another amazing skill that kind of falls under social awareness, being aware of your resources that you have available to you. And then, of course, relationship skills. Oh my gosh, social engagement, teamwork and collaboration. So important in the classroom, especially if you do project-based learning. I mean, how much teamwork and collaboration skills are you developing when you're doing projects with your students and allowing them time to work together and think through problems? STEM and STEAM in the classroom certainly has so many of these ideas embedded into it. Now, what would make the difference though? What would be the difference? Because if these things are already kind of in our content in our everyday, where's the difference? And that's one of the foundations of SEL. Here it is, that your teaching of these skills needs to be explicit. You are talking to your students about these things as they're happening. So pointing out the collaboration that's happening and asking them, how does that make you feel? Having them identify those emotions when they feel success and when they feel conflicts. That explicit teaching is really one of the things that sets SEL apart from other SEL programs and methods, because it really does focus on the teacher being able to pull from their content and point out these social emotional skills that the students are developing right there in front of us in the classroom, doing the content that we're already teaching. Conflict resolution, by the way, is another skill that's underneath this umbrella of relationship skills. All right, and that brings us to this last competency, which is responsible decision making. And I love getting to this fifth competency and saying that whenever we go through the creative process, we are living the responsible decision-making competencies, right? From perception of what we're going to be doing or creating, to the creation, through all the edits and the revisions, and all the way through to the product. We are making those decisions and we're doing it, well, hopefully we're practicing doing it responsibly. So identifying problems, solving problems, making constructive choices, being safe and being ethical all the way through that creative process. All of those things fall under responsible decision making. So I hope you can see that so much of what you're already teaching naturally has social emotional skills embedded in it. Part of what your job needs to be is to kind of bring those to the surface. And in the next few episodes of my podcast, what I'd love to do is talk more and more about how SEL does that. Why is SEL the best way to go about bringing these competencies and skills into the classroom so that your students' social and emotional well-being just explodes, and they are able to really adjust well in the classroom, in the school, so that we are going for that bottom line, right? What is the bottom line of bringing in SEL into your classroom? Well, it is getting students to love learning and be emotionally ready to learn. All right, so that's it for me for right now. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe as we continue talking about arts, learning, and SEL through SEL, social, emotional, artistic learning. If you want to learn more, go to theinspiredclassroom.com. My name's Elizabeth Peterson, reminding you to get inspired so that you can be inspiring to your students.